Challenges mount for Macron as Prime Minister is ousted. The dismissal of Prime Minister Michel Barnier by the French Parliament after just 3 months in office has deepened France's political gridlock, adding to the challenges facing President Emmanuel Macron. On December 4, the French lower house voted to oust Prime Minister Michel Barnier, 73, making him the shortest-serving Prime Minister in France since 1958. Barnier is expected to submit his resignation to President Macron on December 5. This development exacerbates the political crisis in France, partly stemming from Macron's decision to call for an early parliamentary election in June. The election created a tripartite power balance in the legislature. Following the election, none of the three factions, the ruling centrist coalition, the left-wing New People's Front, NF, and the far-right National Front, RN, secured enough seats to form a majority government. This resulted in a hung parliament, with opposing blocs that lack a tradition of working together. It is very difficult to chart a stable path in such a situation, said François Patriot, a longtime ally of Macron, in an interview with the Financial Times. Under the French constitution, the president appoints the prime minister. Macron took 7 weeks to select a candidate acceptable to most legislators before appointing Barnier on September 5. Barnier's first challenge as prime minister was passing the 2025 budget proposal, which lacked sufficient parliamentary support. The budget aimed to cut €60 billion, $63 billion, in spending to reduce the deficit. Faced with opposition, Barnier invoked special constitutional powers to pass part of the budget. In response, the far-left and far-right factions launched a no-confidence motion, leading to his ousting. Pressures mount on Macron. Macron now faces significant pressure to act swiftly on the budget issue. Delays could damage his reputation, destabilize French financial markets, and increase calls for him to resign before his term ends in 2027. Sources close to Macron suggest he aims to appoint a new prime minister by December 7. Ahead of the inauguration of Notre Dame Cathedral, possible candidates include Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu, centrist ally François Bayrou, or former left-wing Prime Minister Bernard Cazeneuve. Alternatively, Macron may consider forming a technocratic government composed of experts, such as economists, senior civil servants, scholars, diplomats, business leaders, or union heads, unaffiliated with political parties. However, any successor to Barnier will face the same challenges posed by the hung parliament when attempting to pass legislation. Another parliamentary election cannot be held before July 2025, meaning the current deadlock is likely to persist. Macron could also ask Barnier and his cabinet to stay on temporarily while searching for a suitable replacement. Economic implications. As an EU member, France's annual budget deficit cannot exceed 3% of GDP. But this year's deficit is estimated at 6.1%. Barnier's draft budget aimed to reduce the deficit to 5.6% through spending cuts and tax increases. If the budget is not passed by December 20, the interim government could extend the 2024 budget rules into 2025, potentially raising the deficit to 6.3%. Analysts from Morgan Stanley warn the government could also invoke special powers again to pass the 2025 budget. But experts caution this would enter a legal grey area with significant political costs. Political fallout. Laurent Wauquiez, leader of the parliamentary right-wing faction, blamed the far left and far right for organizing the no-confidence vote, accusing him of plunging the country into instability. While Macron has faced calls to resign to break the deadlock, he has dismissed such suggestions, calling them political fantasies. However, far-left lawmaker Éric Coquerel argued that Barnier's ousting marked the beginning of the end for Macron's term. Resignation is a possibility, but now is not the right time, said François-Xavier Millet, a political scientist at the French West Indies University. If Macron resigns now, the situation will become even more chaotic without resolving the parliamentary impasse. Macron is striving to salvage his presidency and protect his achievements, particularly in economic reforms benefiting businesses and reducing taxes. He has urged political factions to cooperate for national stability, at least to pass the budget. This effort faces resistance from RN and NFP, who are strategizing for the 2027 presidential election. Both sides are obsessed with the 2027 election, which is shaping their leaders' actions, said Jean Garrigues, a historian specializing in French parliament and constitutional issues. Marine Le Pen, RN leader, has long sought to position her party as a government in waiting. "I am not pushing Macron to resign," she told Reuters. "The pressure on him will only grow. It is his decision to make."